Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and we have some updates in the Prince Andrew saga. We also have a quick article from Maria Farmer talking about how Jeffrey Epstein's house was set up with all sorts of recording devices. So, last night when we left off, we were talking about Prince Andrew and the car crash interview that he gave, and how bad it looks for him, and how it didn't do him any good, and it certainly didn't do the royal family any favors. Like I said when the interview first happened, he showed no empathy to the victims whatsoever. It was all me, poor me, woe is me, I'm the prince, how dare you even accuse me of this? That's basically the path he took, as opposed to coming out there and showing some humility and some empathy to these girls that Epstein obviously raped, obviously trafficked. But no, it's all about, let me fix my image, let me try and fix my image, let me use the media to try and fix my image, and it didn't work. It was a glorious failure. So, this morning, I think this is pretty significant. We have a headline from the New York Post which reads, UK politicians call on Prince Andrew to give Jeffrey Epstein evidence to the FBI. Prince Andrew is facing mounting political pressure to turn over evidence to U.S. investigators related to his friendship with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. So he's just mounted. Now people are starting to mount political pressure on him. What about all those other years? And see, this is the problem. They would have kept this hidden. They would have kept this hidden until forever, if it wasn't blown out of the water the way it was, because that's their MO. They want to hide things from us. They want to make sure that we don't know what's really going on. And they want to make sure that their narrative, their game plan, is the one that we're using. Amid a huge backlash over his car crash BBC interview, a series of top UK politicians declared it's time for the 59-year-old British royal to testify under oath to the FBI. Exactly what I've been calling for, right? Under oath to the FBI. Why not? If you didn't do anything, you have nothing to worry about, princely boy. I hope very much he will, Barry Gardiner, the UK shadow trade secretary for the opposition party, told the Times of London on Monday. I believe that if this interview was intended to be open and transparent, then it should be focused on the victims. It should be focused on justice for those victims of Jeffrey Epstein. And anything that Prince Andrew can do in order to further that by saying what he knows of the time he spent with his former friend can only be the right thing to do. Yeah, you think? I think you worded that a bit gently as well. If it was me that was demanding this dude come and talk to the FBI, the words would be a lot more harsh. Sort of like when Tony Soprano sat Jackie Jr. down that time and told him he was going to hear some words he didn't like. That's exactly the kind of conversation me and this prince would be having. Jack Dromey, the shadow pensions minister, said that the Duke of York showed no empathy whatsoever for the victims of Epstein and should be utterly ashamed of himself. Yeah, 100% he should be ashamed of himself. We're certainly all ashamed of him. Everybody that has ever heard of the case at this point knows that this guy is hip deep in some nonsense. I thought it was utterly disgraceful, and to be absolutely frank, he is a disgrace, the politician told BBC Radio, according to the Times. Jo Swinson, the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party, said she was really troubled by Andrew's suggestion that sex was a positive act for a man, suggesting it might not be for the woman. Well, it's not for the woman, Miss Swinson. Definitely not for the woman if she's being raped, right? Sex is a positive act? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Having sex is a positive act for both parties involved in it, whether you're a man or a woman, Swinson told LBC Radio, because if it's not a positive act, it's not a positive choice. That's not sex. That's rape. Yeah, that's rape. Lawyer Gloria Allred, who represents an Epstein accuser, also joined the calls for Andrew to testify under oath. Now he's been in court of public opinion. He should testify to the FBI, she told ITV's Good Morning Britain, saying his evidence could be key in nailing Epstein's accomplices in an alleged sex ring. The prince is not protected from potential legal moves by the U.S., senior lawyers told the Times. He is not entitled to any form of immunity by virtue of his position as a member of the royal family, Anna Rothwell, a lawyer at Corker Binning, told the paper, making him vulnerable to extradition. All right, folks, well, here we are. Just a few months ago, I was being laughed at when I said that this was even a possibility. People were like, there's no way that Prince Andrew or any of these other real powerful people will ever face justice. Well, that's the case because people aren't willing to hold them to account. People aren't willing to go the extra mile. People just shrug their shoulders and move on. People forget things in the 24-hour news cycle. But guess what? Not your favorite podcast host. I'm like an elephant. I remember it all. And I have news for you. This is just the beginning. He does not have diplomatic immunity. His title as a prince does not give him diplomatic immunity. Right? So the time is coming where people like Prince Andrew are not going to get away with the things that they've always gotten away with. Now, the second article is from CBS News, and the title is, Jeffrey Epstein accuser says his house had cameras monitoring private moments. And this just broke a little bit ago. So, obviously, this goes along the path that we've been taking here about the whole entire intelligence blackmail scheme. So this is just another person corroborating the evidence that we already have that every single one of Epstein's residences was wired up, cameraed up, and ready to go to collect blackmail information so he could create his own dossiers on each person that he dealt with. That way, he could manipulate them into doing what he wanted them to do. All right, so let's jump right in and see what this article has to say. One of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers is providing chilling new insight into his alleged sex trafficking operation. Maria Farmer told CBS this morning that Epstein sexually assaulted her more than 20 years ago. She is now suing the Epstein estate. In her first TV interview, Farmer alleges that Epstein had extensive surveillance inside his phone, including tiny pinhole cameras. Now, guys, let that sink in for a minute, all right? If you were on the fence about if this was a blackmail operation or just a sick SOB committing these acts, I would implore you to look at this evidence as well of the other body of evidence that we've compiled and look at it as a whole and look at it in context and remember what Maria Farmer says now and what Virginia Roberts said her main job was to get information from Prince Andy. Farmer told co-host Anthony Mason that Epstein showed her cameras throughout his house. The main thing he did when I walked in, and I thought was interesting, he showed me where the cameras, the men monitoring everything, were. So if you're facing the house, there's a window on the right that's barred. That's the media room, is what he called it. And so there was a door that looked like an invisible door with all this limestone and everything. And you push it and you go in. And I saw all the cameras. It was like old televisions, basically like stacked. Monitors, asked Mason. There were monitors inside this cabinet, and there were men sitting here. And I looked on the cameras, and I saw toilet, bed, toilet, bed. I'm like, I am never going to use the restroom here, and I'm never going to sleep here. You know what I mean? It was very obvious that there were, like, monitoring private moments. Bang. Thank you, Maria Farmer. It just helps us. It gives us a little confidence that we're going in the right direction, right? That we have the scent, we're locked into the scent, and we're chasing it down like a fugitive. She believes there are tapes. The question is, who has them? Epstein, who is facing federal sex trafficking charges, died August 10th while in detention at a New York City jail. All right, well, that's a little blurb there from Mrs. Maria Farmer. And look, she's the gal that allegedly in New Mexico she was raped by Jeffrey Epstein at Les Wexner's property. Or excuse me, Ohio. Not New Mexico, Ohio, at Les Wexner, at one of Lex Wexner's properties. I believe it was in New Albany. And so when we have witnesses like this, girls that have actually been assaulted, actually have been molested and raped by this guy, and they come out with this sort of evidence, if you believe the other things they say, you most certainly have to believe this. Not only has she come out and said it, multiple people have come out and said it, and people who have just been guests in his home in New York have talked about it. So, look, there's no doubt in my mind. There is zero gray area at this point what was going on. All right? This was a blackmail operation being run to compile dossiers and information on people so that they could use these dossiers to further their political motivations or whatever they might need from these people. Look, we know people love dossiers. Look at the dossier that was compiled on Trump, the Russia dossier. That's how they do it. That's what intelligence does. They compile dossiers and white papers and all sorts of other things. That way, that they can put their thumb down on top of the people they control and make those people do things that they want. And it's just the way it's been forever, folks. And it comes down to, are we going to accept it, or are we going to stand up, like I've said a million times, and flip the table over and tell them, that's it, we've had enough. You dudes are done. You're out of business. The party is over. And it looks like we're taking steps in the right direction. I've been trying to stay positive throughout this, with so many people, thinking that we're never going to have resolution here. And I can totally understand that, because in so many cases we haven't had resolution. But so many cases haven't involved a huge sex trafficking ring with girls, little kids. And I think, like I've said, I want to think and I want to hope that that's where we draw the line in America. It's certainly where I draw the line. That is certainly where I draw the line. I could turn my head to a bunch of other things, grift and thievery from politicians. That's just part of the deal, right? But this sort of stuff, providing cover for these sort of people, no way. I'll never accept it. I'm sorry. I will never, ever, ever accept it, no matter what. And the fact that the UK politicians are willing to step up and hold Prince Andrew to account, I think it's another step in the right direction. And inch by inch, we're getting closer, folks. Inch by inch, we're getting closer to justice for these girls. All right, everybody, I will be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. I hope everybody's having a fantastic Monday morning, and I hope you guys have a great day. Oh, by the way, before I end it, you guys can reach me at Bobbycapucci at protonmail.com, BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com, and you can also find the GoFundMe in the description. All right, see you later, everybody.